don't add up the years, but what I do count on is Boost High Protein.
And now there's Boost Mobility with key nutrients to help support joints, muscles, and bones. Try Boost Mobility with added collagen.
Everyone loves the benefits of compression socks, but they're just so hard to get on. Until now, introducing the all-new Copperfit Energy Socks, the first ever easy-on, easy-off fit to help reduce swelling, relieve tired, achy muscles, and provide energizing support.
Being a SWAT commander, we train to win. The Copperfit Energy Socks, they didn't feel like other compression socks. They totally exceeded my expectations.
Copper-infused fabric woven into our compression sock to help reduce swelling discomfort.
They just slip right on, yet they still have that same compression that you want.
Extra support around the arch and ankle for relief of muscle aches and pains.
These were fantastic. A lot of compression socks are a little too thin. I could wear these every day.
Feel more energized. Get your energy socks now online at getenergysocks.com or call 1-800-336-7589. Order now and get a second pair free.
I have so much energy, I can go, hey, you want a dance?
Copperfit Energy Socks.
ThredUp presents The Cure for the Common Closet.
I know that sigh. You're suffering from common closet. Common closet. But fear not, I have the cure. It's called ThredUp.com. It's the world's largest online thrift store with all of your favorite brands at incredible prices. Check out this J. Crew dress, $14. Boho weekend look, $25. You can pick your favorite colors, styles, brands, and voila!
Enter code NEW for up to an extra 50% off your first order at ThredUp.com.
Peacock is streaming, and it's free. TV, movies, sports,
Breaking news.
stocks, tunes. More?
Yes, more.
Tons. And that's why you can't not watch.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Yasmin Vestugian. We're going to begin this half hour with a stark warning to Congress from the nation's top infectious disease doctor over the surge of COVID-19 in parts of the country.
However, in other areas of the country, we're now seeing a disturbing surge of infections that looks like it's a combination, but one of the things is an increase in community spread. And that's something that I'm really quite concerned about. That the next couple of weeks are going to be critical in our ability to address those surgings that we're seeing in Florida, in Texas, in Arizona, and in other states.
All right, so cases of COVID are on the rise in almost half the states right now, some of which Dr. Fauci mentioned there, with record surges in Florida, Texas, and Arizona, where the president had a rally last night. The U.S. has reported over 2.3 million cases, with deaths climbing by 500 to 1,000 a day. Dr. Fauci's assessment to the coronavirus threat painted a much grimmer picture compared to the one given by the president, who claimed last week that a virus that would just, quote, fade away during his testimony. Fauci urged Americans to do a better job of taking precautions to reduce the spread.
So, plan A, don't go in a crowd. Plan B, if you do, make sure you wear a mask. And we are still in the middle of the first wave. So before you start talking about what a second wave is, what we'd like to do is to get this outbreak under control over the next couple of months.
So appearing before Congress, Dr. Fauci also gave a timeline for a COVID vaccine.
I feel cautiously optimistic, Congresswoman, that we will be successful in getting a vaccine. There's never a guarantee of that, but the early data that we're seeing regarding the immunogenicity and the induction of good responses makes me cautiously optimistic, always knowing that there's never a guarantee. I still think there is a reasonably good chance that by the very beginning of 2021, that if we're going to have a vaccine, that we will have it by then.
And Fauci assured lawmakers that there will not be any shortcuts on safety. Meanwhile, according to the Associated Press, more than a dozen vaccine candidates are in various stages of testing around the world. And the president's aides have been trying to clean up remarks he made in Tulsa over the weekend about slowing down coronavirus testing, claiming that he was just kidding. But yesterday, while speaking to reporters, Trump insisted it was not a joke.
program anywhere in the world. We test better than anybody in the world. Our tests are the best in the world, and we have the most of them. By having more tests, we find more cases.
So, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, who told reporters on Monday the president's comments were, quote, in jest, was pressed again about the president's remarks yesterday, and she told reporters this. He was making a serious point, and that's why he said, I don't kid. He was noting he was making a serious point, but he was using sarcasm to do that at the rally. And here's what Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin said about the president's testing remarks yesterday.
The president suggested over the weekend, just the day before yesterday, that he wanted to slow that down. If we do that, can you imagine the situation changing significantly?
Well, I think the president clearly said that in jest in a rally when he was talking about the numbers. And in no way is it the president's policy or our policy to slow down testing.
And of course, though, as the president said, he does not kid. So on Capitol Hill yesterday, Dr. Fauci was also asked about Trump's remarks.
I know for sure, but to my knowledge, none of us have ever been told to slow down on testing. That just is a fact. In fact, we will be doing more testing.
All right, joining me once again, political reporter for The Hill, Julia Manchester. Let's talk about some of Dr. Fauci's testimony, because he said a lot yesterday in Washington, D.C. He has high approval ratings throughout the country, and some of the latest polling that we're seeing, a lot of Americans are listening to what Dr. Fauci is saying amidst this pandemic, this wave one of our pandemic that we are in the middle of. And he broke from the president's comments on many respects, specifically when it comes to the question of testing that we have played over and over again. In fact, Dr. Fauci went the opposite direction and saying, we are not doing enough in this country. We are not doing enough testing.
Right. It's interesting to see Dr. Fauci separately making these remarks from the president. You know, it was just a few months ago when you saw Dr. Fauci side by side with the president, presenting what really seemed to be a unifying front. But I think yesterday's testimony, as well as some of President Trump's latest remarks, show that there isn't really a lot of unity at the top of the leadership on this issue in the United States. And that should spark a lot of concern for Americans. I think it was also interesting how Dr. pointed a lot of specific states like Texas and Florida, for example, where we're seeing really a skyrocketing of cases, and you've seen the governors in a number of states, also Arizona, I'd like to point out, kind of push towards this idea of reopening the economy, but at the same time, it seems to some people like this has almost been prioritized over the public health concerns over the coronavirus.
So this is a twofold question. The first part of it is, how are lawmakers in Washington, D.C., how are they reacting to the president's comment? And then the follow-up to that is, especially with those in November, are they looking to distance themselves from this president, especially with the way that he has responded to this pandemic?
So in terms of how lawmakers are President Trump, I think you're seeing a lot of Republicans either trying to defend those comments or trying to somehow justify them, or maybe even distancing themselves and staying quiet about them and kind of, looking towards other sources of information. For the ones that are up for re-election, though, in November, I think you're really going to see a mixed bag. Remember, it depends really what state these officials are in. Remember, we're seeing most governors in the United States polling higher in their own states than President Trump is. So if they're in a state where the governor's polling higher and maybe the president's polling much lower, you're going to see them distancing themselves from the president. But one thing I'd like to point out, Yasmin, is that it's just really too early to tell, I guess, on this issue of how the coronavirus will impact November. Remember, we have 5 months to go, and I think a lot of this depends on, how many more cases we see, how the federal government continues to respond. President Trump could very well change his strategy and maybe focus more on the coronavirus pandemic, but he's really seemed to make the economy more of a priority, and we know that that's something that he's really relied on in the past.
Well, and we will very likely be in the middle of a second wave of the coronavirus, colliding with the flu season as well as we head to the polls in November. Julia Manchester, thank you as always. Great to see you this morning. So speaking of 2020, Obama joining Joe Biden on the virtual campaign trail for the first time during a grassroots fundraiser where he referred to the current administration's approach to governing, quote, shambolic.
My predecessor, who I disagreed with on a whole host of issues, still had a basic regard for the rule of law and the importance of institutions. What we have seen over the last couple of years is a White House